I'm Amy Julia Becker, and wow, have I had a tough time recording this video this morning. And I think the reason I'm having such a tough time is that I am uncomfortable about the topic and trying to speak on it. The topic this morning is justice. And I get uncomfortable even sometimes saying that word. In a lot of biblical passages, justice is translated as righteousness. And the word is really in the Bible more or less the same. Righteousness and justice go hand in hand. And I've thought a lot about righteousness, getting things right, doing things right. God is the one who is right. But justice has been harder for me. And I think that's because of my social position. It's because I'm a white person and I've grown up with stability in society. I've grown up with assumptions about me that are positive by many people. And naming and feeling compassion and knowing how to respond to injustice, even as I learn about it, even as I read about the women, the Asian American women who were shot and killed, who were murdered this past week, I don't know how to respond. Even as I understand more and more of the context of our housing laws and our education system and our criminal justice system in America and how it is unjust towards especially people who are not white, but also towards people who are poor. As I learn more and more about discrimination against people with disabilities, like our daughter Penny, as I think about all of these injustices, I feel helpless. I feel paralyzed. I don't know what to do. And I come to Psalm 1, and I see that the psalmist lays out two ways of being. And one is the way of the wicked. And the way of the wicked, all they say about it is that it is the way of sinners, the seat of mockers, and that it is like chaff that the wind blows away. So it's loud. Mockers are loud. And I guess on some level it's attractive, right? It's alluring. Maybe that's the better word for it. But ultimately it is like chaff. It will be blown away. That's what separates from wheat and blows away in the wind. And then there's the way of the Lord. It's the way of righteousness. It's the way of justice. And what's interesting about this way is that it's not a way that involves walking. The way of the wicked involves walking. The way of the Lord, here's the image we get. The one whose delight is in the law of the Lord, the one who is in the way of the righteous, is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever he or she does prospers. So it's a beautiful image, right, of a tree by a stream who is in a prosperous and fruitful season. The way of the righteous is not one of loud voices or alluring temptations. It's one of stability. It's one of putting down our roots in one place and holding on for dear life to that which is the love of God. Understanding our identity, understanding our being as participants in the love of God. That's the way of justice, and that's the way of righteousness. That's the way I can get through feeling overwhelmed and embarrassed and uncomfortable in talking about injustice, and instead I can say, okay, what does it mean for me to know myself as someone who is loved by God, who is needy and vulnerable and does not have all the answers, but who also can be equipped to participate in whatever God calls me to in the work of bringing justice and peace and prosperity to my community, to my nation, to those around me. So, if you are someone who is like me and who feels a little bit uneasy even about the thought of naming injustice for what it is, if you're someone like me who feels a little bit paralyzed when it comes to feeling compassion for those who are on the other side of injustice, or if you're someone like me who feels overwhelmed and inadequate when it comes to taking steps towards justice in our society, I just want to point you back one more time to this image of being like a tree planted by streams of water, meditating on the law of the Lord, on the goodness of God, on the truth of who God is, on the truth of your belovedness and the common belovedness of all of those you encounter. And to encourage all of us to see injustice for what it is, to name it, to feel compassion for those who are its victims, and to ask, what are the next small steps that I can take to participate in the way of justice and in the way of God?